Hi, gorgeous soul. I'm Chloe Rose, and welcome to the magical realms of Mystic Hearts. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you, talking about my experiences of the highs and the lows of building a heart-centered business. Because why I want to share this, okay, there is a lot of lies on social media and a lot of false narratives, which can really cause a lot of self-doubt for individuals who are on this path of breaking free from the system, breaking free from the matrix, if you like, and building a meaningful life that gives you back the power into your own hands and allows you to thrive freely and creatively. There's a lot of false imagery and language used on social media, about living a luxury lifestyle and how easy it is if you just buy this investment with me. Then you can be living the same. But what I found is that many of the lifestyle brands or social media influencers who are selling money and luxury and total freedom, just beware of the language, because a lot of these people are actually, when you peel back a layer, they are faking it before they make it. And there is some magic in fake it till you make it. But not in a sense of straight up lying, saying this is the life that I'm living, when in actuality, you can't pay your bills and you're in a lot of debt. So I'm not casting hate against anyone. What I want to talk about is the magic and the amazing journey and how incredibly rewarding it is when you build a heart-centered business, whatever you want to call it, following your dreams, following your passions. When you build that from the ground up, without cheating, without faking it, it's really magical. And of course, a huge part of that magic is the huge shadows and darkness and highs and lows that we go through. And I really want to celebrate that today and talk about that, and hopefully shed some light on the difference between being sold a dream and actually writing your dream for yourself, and really being with all of the steps and the personal development and self-realization and pain and hardship and joy and wonder that comes along with that. So I wanted to be real. I wanted to talk about building a business from my perspective, and not just share all the sunshine and rainbows, but share the whole spectrum of my journey so far. And I'll share with you, before I dive into it, some of the highlights or the main themes that I'm going to be exploring in this chat today. And if you want to join me with a beverage as well, I'm just being very straight edge today with my H2O. Cheers. Grab a beverage of choice. We're going to have a little cozy chat together. So some of the main themes, number one, and this was the inspiration for this video today. I was walking, and walking is one of my favourite activities to get mental clarity and inspired thoughts. And I was walking, and it's been about a year. It's like coming up to a year anniversary of where my life just completely changed and got flipped upside down. And So I'm thinking about all of these things and really reflecting on the journey I've been on in the past year. And this brings me to one of the main themes of this chat today, and that is the power of your life falling apart. And how moments of total breakdown and undoing have the potential, 100% have the potential, to be the biggest catalyst for positive growth, change and transformation in our lives. Just like 100%. So how you can alchemize moments of total falling apart where it feels like the rug has been pulled out from under your feet. It's that tower moment where everything comes crashing down. How you can actually alchemize that and use that as the fuel to make huge transformational steps, quantum leaping, if you like, in your life. So that's going to be the main theme of this video today. And also talking about the power, the importance, and the medicine and magic of facing our fears. Now, I would say in this past year alone, I have faced so many fears, and these are like little niggling fears. I think a lot of people think of like facing our fears would be like if you're scared of spiders, you know, touching a spider or whatever. Okay, great. Yeah, those are important, but it's the small fears that are actually getting in the way of us expressing the true expression of ourselves and feeling that full soul liberation here, right now, in this lifetime. So for me, in the last year, I faced this fear that I sort of didn't really know I had, but I sort of uncovered it as I was going. And that was of creating these videos for YouTube. And I know this sounds crazy, but because I've had many years in my businesses and experiences working with getting over my fear of public speaking. That was something that was very big for me when I was younger. So I got over that, but I got very good at speaking instructions or speaking to train or to educate. And I found myself really coming face to face with this fear of showing up on camera and like speaking to myself, but in a way that felt relaxed and candid and relatable. And I do feel like it's something I'm still working through now and having to pull back and say, hang on a minute, do I feel like I'm performing? I mean, there's nothing wrong with a bit of drama and theatrics, but still staying real and true to myself and just keep reminding myself, why am I here? Who am I doing this for? So that, facing that, and last year, it was only last year that I started building my YouTube channel. I've had YouTube for many, many years, but I've never used it as my social media outlet. And now, ironically, it's my only social media outlet. So I love YouTube. Big up YouTube. We love you. Last year, I also faced my fear of singing publicly and actually released a song. I really faced some fears around just sticking up for myself and speaking my truth as well in relationships and situations, and finding that strength within myself, but not from a place of anger and frustration, just from a place of knowing that, yeah, I've got to stick up for myself, and it's coming from love. So we've got the main themes: alchemizing moments where our life is falling apart into our greatest moments of transformation, the power of facing our fears, and how being comfortable can actually cause us to rot and deteriorate and move backwards rather than move forwards. And what else? There are so many topics. I never script or rehearse these videos, by the way. I get an inspired thought and then I'm like, okay, let's roll with it. The greatest lesson, like this is up there, like way up there at the top. The greatest lesson thus far in building and running and growing and expanding my own business, which has been for almost 7 years now, the greatest lesson I've learned is the power of faith. Having full faith and trust in surrendering. And I'm going to come back and go more deeply into this, because having faith is, when I say this, probably my interpretation of that could be completely different to what you're thinking. I am absolutely not religious whatsoever. I would even go as far as saying that for me personally, I am anti-religion. I believe that monotheistic religions are actually false light. And they have manipulated spiritual truths for the sake of power, control, and slave mentality. Now, just on the back of that, I just want to share that I absolutely have nothing against anyone who follows a religion or anyone who is religious. It's more that I personally choose to take a zoom back and follow the money and follow the stories and follow the power. And look, if you are someone who is kind to yourself and to others and follows the language of love, then you and I are going to vibe. Whether you identify as following a religion or not, it's fine. It's all good. There's no hate. I just want to get it clear that I am not religious at all. However, I have a very, very, very strong connection to myself as a soul and all other beings connected. I'm very strongly connected to the consciousness of planets as well. Very strongly connected to Earth, but also I feel a connection to other planets. And then also, I don't believe, this is complicated. I'm going to have to get into this in another way. I do believe in God, but I don't believe in worshipping God. And I also believe there is a mother of God, and then there is also the original creative force or frequency that connects all that is, source, if you like. So it's a little bit complicated, but no matter my belief system, I have a faith in the divine. And what do I mean by the divine? I just mean our true essence, that is the opposite of everything that we are told that we are limited to within a human form. Everything the opposite to that. Like, we are so divine, and I'm a true believer in that. And running my own business has taught me that more than anything else in the world. Running my own business has taught me more about myself and more about myself as a spiritual experience than anything else has, which is pretty wild. Okay, so those are the themes of the chat today, which is exciting. And if you are new here and you're not already, subscribing to my channel would mean the world to me. As far as I believe, I'm about 5 subs away from 800. So I am a small YouTuber at the moment, so all the support I can get means an incredible deal to me. So thank you so much, and please do like and comment on this video as well. If you want to share something, I will always respond to you. If you have any questions, I will always reply to your question, or any suggestions if you want me to dive a bit deeper into any of these topics I talk about today, or anything else, please do share. Awesome. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy being here in the realm of Mystic Hearts. And on that note, I'm going to hydrate. So I'll start off with a little bit of a story. I yeah, I have shared the story about how I came to start my business. I've shared this before, so I'll share it again and I will try and make it short as possible. So, back in 2015, so more than 10 years ago, one of my best friends and I decided that we were done living in England. And this had been a long time coming for me. We were done living in England. We wanted to live a life of freedom and sunshine and joy and adventure and nature, and we did it. We packed up our lives. Like, I sold pretty much all of my clothes, most of my stuff. I got rid of everything, packed my life up into a massive backpack. We went to the other side of the world and we found ourselves in a very small island in Indonesia. And we both managed to get amazing jobs there. We were both got jobs as managers of huge resorts on the island. So we were able to stay. And what an experience that was. I mean, it was incredible. And we stayed there. I was there for about 4.5 years. Loved it. It was amazing. But what we both began to realise was that we were living in paradise, but we were still living and working on someone else's time frame. And it's standard in that country for you to work 6 days a week. So you only get 1 day off a week, and that's everyone. So that was intense. And yeah, being a manager as well. I mean, it's awesome. The opportunities I was given there and the creative freedom I had was like some of the best experience I've ever had in my life. No regrets. I loved it. But it got to the point where I was like, I am feeling quite stressed all the time. Working a lot is just the way it is in the events industry, in hospitality, in management. So in 2019, I decided, okay, I'm ready to leave. And I had this deep yearning to actually have a job that not only benefited me, but also that I could actually give something back. And it was a year before that, when I was still working in Indonesia. I did a certification, a 2-year certification in alternative medicine. So I was studying that and I was getting all excited and taking my health seriously. And then I was like, what on earth am I doing working in the travel and tourism industry? I'm like encouraging people to eat unhealthily and drink alcohol and all of this stuff. And I was like, okay, I've had an amazing time here. What an experience it's been, but it's time for me to do something else. And I'd been practicing yoga for many years by this point, and something in me just said, do you know what? I think I would love to be a yoga teacher. I didn't put much thought into it. It was just one of those things that came in, and I was like, yes, if I'm a yoga teacher, I can travel the world, I can live anywhere. So what was really interesting was that I decided this in 2019, and this was before any whispers about COVID were even on the wind yet. It was all, none of that had been fully revealed yet. And so, yeah, I decided to go to India, do my yoga teacher training, and then I was like, I'm just going to travel the world for a year. So I booked all of my flights. Like, I literally booked everything. I booked my flight to India, I booked the course, then I booked flights to Nepal, to Sri Lanka. I literally booked everything. I was like, right, I've got it all planned out. Handed my notice in with my bosses. I think I gave them like 6 months notice. I had to, because they paid for my visa, but I was just so desperate to like tell them that I was leaving that I told them really early. And then what was interesting was literally like a month or 2 after that was when the news started popping up about the whispers of COVID. And I just instantly, intuitively knew, like I could smell trouble from this, and I knew it was going to blow up into something huge. and it unraveled very, very, very quickly in Indonesia. And my bosses said to me, they were like, we really want you to stay, but we can't promise that we'll be able to pay you, and we don't know how long that will be. So I was like, oh, do I stay, or do I come home and, you know, be with my family and, yeah, just have a home to be in? So it was this like last minute decision, bearing in mind I'd booked all of these flights that was suddenly just like out of the question. All of those plans were just gone. So I was like, okay, do I stay where I decided already that I don't want to be anymore, or do I just go back home and do something that I never thought I would do? And then sort of time was pressing, and restrictions were starting to get more and more heavy and intense. So I was like, I'm just going to book a flight back to England. And I actually got on the last flight before they all got cancelled, coming back to England. And bearing in mind, 5 years before that, I had sold everything. So I had no home, no car, no clothes, no possessions. Luckily, I had some savings. I had some money saved up from working in Indonesia because it was very cheap to live there. But I came home and was like, oh, okay then. It just completely flipped everything upside down, and I'm eternally lucky and grateful that I had a family home to come home to and stay in at that time. So that was the first moment of experiencing my whole life getting turned upside down, from living in Indonesia, having my own house, my own space, my own job, like plenty of money, and I just, you know, everything was flowing, and then having this grand plan to go and travel the world, and then it just being like, nope, you're gonna come back home to Mother England. And I truly in my heart, however hard that was and however hard it's been, I'm still here in England now, 6 years later, by the way, however hard that was at the time to make that transition back, I truly believe that it was part of my destiny, to come back home, because what I recognise now, and I think I recognised it quite quickly, but what I really recognise now is that I was called back home. I was called back home by my soul or by my higher self, because there were wounds in my life that needed healing, and those wounds were just open constantly and they weren't healing. And there's something incredibly powerful about coming back home into ourselves, but also being called back home to a place where we feel safe and stable, rather than running away from ourselves. And essentially, if I'm really honest with myself, that's what I was doing when I moved to Indonesia. No regrets. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. But the reason why I went there, because I was running away from pain. So I came back to England, and it was beautiful. I got to see my friends. I started really getting into plant medicine, which is something I hadn't. I've worked with mushrooms, psilocybin, for many years, both recreationally and ceremoniously, and also for my mental health. But it wasn't anything else, and yeah, luckily in the UK, we were still able to be quite sneaky and have a lot of freedom during the lockdowns. And me being a rebel, obviously, just did what I pleased during those times. Say what you want about that. I take care of my health. So, yeah, so I managed to go to some amazing plant medicine ceremonies, connected really deeply with cacao, which helped me to open up a lot of my grief in my heart around some of those wounds. And I've talked about those wounds in other videos. I'm not going to go into them here because it's not business related. But yeah, a lot of healing around the father wound, the mother wound, inner child, all of the things. And I just really, really got into deep healing more than I ever had before. So that was really powerful, and I think that was a medicine that I hadn't expected coming back to England. Yeah, so talking about the business, so I've moved back into my family home with no car, a little bit of money, and nothing. Luckily for me, the amazing yoga shala where I had booked to do my teacher training offered to do it online, and normally I would have said there's no way I want to do this online, but it ended up working in my favour because for 2 months full time, 6 days a week, I had one-on-one training. So it was super intense, but it was like, and so cheap as well, like insanely cheap. And I just got this amazing one-on-one support. So I'm so grateful for that. You know, it didn't turn out to be what I had expected, but because I allowed myself to just surrender to that situation, and you know, they obviously needed the money as well. So I didn't want to say, oh no, I'm going to wait, because I could have been waiting like 4 or 5 years. So I did that, and that was amazing. So as soon as I finished the teacher training, I started teaching. I was also took advantage of a worldwide crisis because everyone at that time was searching for a way from their home to keep their mental health in check and strengthen themselves physically, but also a lot of people really got triggered into a spiritual journey. And that's another huge advantage of worldwide disasters and worldwide breakdowns, even personal internal breakdowns, is they can trigger a huge awakening within us. So I used that to my advantage, and started teaching one-on-one straight away. Started hosting women's circles, which is really beautiful. And then when I was able to, I got part-time jobs teaching in all different yoga studios around Oxford, and then I also had a part-time job working in a gym. So that was like part 1 of my business, okay? It was like just yoga. I loved my yoga teaching because it was really spiritual based, and it was very much based on the chakras, the energy systems, which is something that I still work with very strongly now. So I loved it. It was much more spiritual and health heavy than it was like, you know, yoga as a workout and doing all of the asanas to perfection. It was the whole spectrum of the spiritual experience, which really aligned for me. You know, and at that time I thought, like, this is it. I found my thing. I found this system that I can then carry forward to help others. And notice the word system there. That's a little sneaky giveaway of where we're about to get to. But just to talk about that a little bit more, you know, teaching in that way really helped to bring me out of my comfort zone. You know, there's something, yeah, I mean, even just thinking about myself when I started teaching group classes, oh my goodness, I was so nervous. So nervous. And when you have, what it taught me is the importance of energy maintenance and health maintenance. Because, I mean, now I'm a little bit luckier, but I've worked to this pace. Now I'm totally in charge of my own schedule, so it's different. You know, I can reschedule things if I want to. But when I was building up and working for other people, teaching for other people, you know, you commit to things. So there's going to be days when you're just not feeling up to it, and you've got to show up and do your thing. And it learns for you to sort of bring this inner strength out and remember, why am I here? Why am I doing this? To help support others on their spiritual journey. So it was really powerful in that way. And it was humbling because some people really did not vibe with me and some people loved me. Like, I had die-hard members coming to my classes and some people were just like, ugh, no. So it was a really good ego check as well, and a reminder that when you are walking on your own path, which I really felt that I was even with yoga, because I never wanted to fit in, and I found that when I did try and fit in or dim myself, that's when I would stumble or I'd mess up. So when I just let myself loose, that is when my greatest teaching moments were. So yeah, that's how I built that from nothing. Because that's the theme of this chat today. So breakdowns, right? Breakdowns. I just let go of all my travel plans. I let go of my lifelong dream of living in a hot country, which is still my dream, by the way. I haven't let go of it, but I've let go of the prison of time around it. So I learned how to just start shedding these layers and become more and more comfortable in the present moment. So yeah, so when I was teaching yoga, I was teaching a lot of privates, which is great. That was like my own business side, and then working for other people and getting like regular money coming in. And I would say for me, okay, so I have never had any kind of business training. I'm not from a corporate background, and I have never experienced wealth like in my family. I'm not from a rich family. I've never experienced like a lot of wealth and success in my family. But there are people in my family who have been incredibly self-made. So I'm lucky to have experienced that. So from me, from someone who, you know, has to just build it from scratch, right? I would say that when you're starting out, it can be really supportive to have a part-time job or multiple streams of income. Because what I found now, even to this day, where I feel really great in my business. I'll talk about the journey more. But even to this day, you know, I make sure that there's multiple streams of income coming in from different sources, because what you learn when you're self-employed is that you can't rely on one thing heavily, because if that falls, what is going to fill the place, you know? And unfortunately, there's no way of magicking ourselves out of not having to pay for food and all of the resources, you know. To a certain degree, we still need money coming in and money going out. That's the way that money flows. So yeah, I would highly recommend, when you're starting out following your passion, have another stream of income coming in that's going to take the pressure off earning money from your passion, from your dream, from your heart-centered business. And then what you can also do, which is what I did like a year and a half ago now, you can to practice, you can start sharing your heart-centered, offering whatever that may be for free, or doing trials. Be like, hey, I'm going to offer 8 sessions for free in return for a review. And you can do things like that. Whereas if you're like, right, I'm going to start straight away and going to start charging, it puts so much pressure on your business that it can act actually like this negative magnet that pushes it away. But when you can be in this space of being like, I'm so abundant, I'm a queen, money's coming in, then it just does. It just does. And that's a feeling. And we have to create these safe spaces within ourselves to allow that to happen. And there's all kinds of other tools that I use as well, like affirmations, meditation. I'm really conscious about what I eat and drink and consume. You can see all of that in other videos that I've shared. But yeah, I would highly recommend that. Especially if the part-time job or the side hustle or the other stream of income isn't completely draining you. I know a lot of us don't have choice, so we can just take what we can get often. I'm still on agencies for hospitality work just in case, like just as a last resort, in case I have a month where I don't get enough bookings to cover me. I know that it's there. At least having a safety net gives that like secure feeling to our body. And some people don't realize this, but abundance begins in the root chakra, which is all about our physical experience as a human and all of our basic functions as a human. It all begins there. So we need to feel safe, and we have to build that safety for ourselves. We can't rely on someone else to give that to us. So yeah, that was how it started. And then, funnily enough, I just started getting this restless feeling within me. I was like, I love teaching. I love teaching yoga. I love yoga. I love how yoga has made me feel, but it felt like I just felt like a bird who wasn't spreading its wings. So like a bird that was just kind of stuck like this and just like restricted. And this was probably from like 2 years ago now. I was having this feeling of there's something more to this. I do feel that yoga is a part of my path, and it has been such an incredibly divine and powerful tool to get me to where I am now, but it's not it. And these feelings just started coming up really strong, and then there was a lot of all of these people in the yoga industry, like whistleblowers and stuff, and when you're just like, ugh, this just doesn't feel really good anymore, and I just feel like I need to expand and almost remove myself from that system and create something new. So I was feeling that from about 2 years ago, but I just wasn't sure, and I just really was like, the clues were there, and I was like into magic, and I love quantum healing and energy healing and all of these things, and painting and artistry, but all of that was put to the side. And then a year and a half ago, I realized that I was really unhappy in my romantic relationship. It came on suddenly, but it had been subtly building for a long time. And it's really funny. Well, it's not funny actually. It's pretty sad, but it's funny that for so many years there had been this voice inside me, which I now recognize as my deeply wise intuitive voice, that had been saying, you're doing everything in life that you're meant to be doing. Like, my health is on point, fitness, just like working on myself, like all of that was in check. The only thing that wasn't in alignment was my relationship, but I just kept choosing to ignore it. I was like, no, I don't want to believe it. And then all of a sudden, like, that voice just got too loud to ignore. So yeah, this time last year, we finally broke up. And I found myself in that situation again, where I was like, oh, okay, suddenly I have no home. We were living together and we left that home. Suddenly I have no home. I'd left my job at the gym, because it just wasn't in alignment anymore. So I was like, oh my God, I've got no home. I've got like a job that's not as consistent as I'd like it to be. Yeah, and everything just, it felt like it just completely unraveled and fell apart once again. But what I decided, and this was probably the first time in my life that I've done this, because I think it was within like the first 2 weeks of me moving out of my home that my partner and I were in together. Within 2 weeks of moving, I said yes to a business mentorship with the fabulous John Binney. Because in the past, I would have thought, oh no, that's me, like, distracting myself from getting over the relationship. But something clicked within me that was like, actually, I'm going to fuel this breakdown into my transformation. And my God, did it. It really helped to give me the empowerment that I needed. And it has taken me a whole year to get over that. And, you know, I dived straight into business mentorship, and I dived straight into saying, do you know what? For the first time in my life, I am going to go all in on creating a YouTube channel. So really just being me and sharing who I am with the world, for anyone who cares. And going all in on creating the business of my dreams. And I'd never done that before. I'd always found that I was just sort of struggling forwards, you know, just stumbling around and just being like, oh, this makes me happy, and then, you know, I'll just work here, there and everywhere and just bring money in any way that I can. But allowing myself to fully surrender into that breakdown moment and propel myself forward and just dive straight into that abyss of the unknown and let go of everything and anything that was expected of me at that time, and just say, what do I want? What does my heart want? And it was because of that breakdown, that breakup, and all of the pain and self-hatred and self-blame that kind of came tumbling out of me after that. Through the releasing of all of that, it pushed me forwards to become Chloe 2.0, which is where I am now. And yeah, I wanted to share that, you know, the two pivotal moments for me in the past 7 years have been when my life has just totally flipped upside down, and I've had to sort of swallow a bit of humble pie and take from the outside what may look like a step back to take huge leaps forwards. So, yeah. And why am I sharing this now, you might ask? Because we are in, well, I say this like we are in unprecedented times, yes, but also no. Like, humanity has known suffering and tyrannical rulers and darkness since the dawning of time. But we are in this huge monumental time at the moment where a lot of people are like, what is even going to happen tomorrow? So I feel for that. And of course, no human wants to see another being suffering. I truly believe that at our essence, that we don't want that. So why am I sharing all of this now? Okay, so from a grand perspective, my little breakdowns and life changes that I've been through have not been seemingly that bad. Okay, I can take that, but a lot of us do go through grief and loss and huge change, and where plans and dreams that we had for our lives are suddenly changed and it feels like it's taken away from us, and it's hard. It is hard. So I don't want to take away from that from any of us, but I want to hopefully empower you in recognizing that there is no right time to follow your dreams. And if I could give you any advice, it would be don't wait on it. Don't wait on it. You know, there have been moments that have crossed my mind where I'm like, wow, if only I had done this in my 20s. And of course, I'm not thinking of that in a way of regrets, because I love the life experiences I've had. But, you know, if we sit on our dreams, our desires, our passions for another 5-10 years, that is time wasted. And life on this earth is so precious, and the more that we can take it into our own hands, the more magical it gets. I really believe that, and I promise you that you can live a fantastical life now. And yeah, and I'm sharing it now because, you know, you might feel that we're in unprecedented, uncertain times of darkness and unraveling. Great! What a time for an individual and mass collective breakthrough where we're like, fuck this. I'm going to take my power back and I am going to live life on my terms, because let me promise you, you can do that. You can do that. A system of control can only function if we allow it to control us. That is something I can go into more deeply, because that's kind of related to this topic, but also it's a whole nother rabbit hole to go down. And I want to keep this talk as lighthearted as I possibly can, and hopefully empowering, because I could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. So the powers of breakthroughs, you know, because yes, it's important to give yourself time to grieve and to integrate. But I have done that in the past year. And what I've actually found through taking a whole year to go all in, like I said, like all in on just saying yes to everything to do with building my dream life. By doing that, that has actually, ironically, given me the space to heal and to go really deep into my self-awareness around that relationship, and also other relationship patterns have been revealed simultaneously as well. So what I'm trying to get at is, when we go down the path of following our heart or following our dreams, our passions, when we go down that path, that is a healing journey within itself, because that is saying yes to spirituality, that is saying yes to everything that we're told we cannot be or we shouldn't be. So that in itself is a healing journey. And when we're constantly following our hearts and we're saying yes to loving ourselves and devoting ourselves to what's best for our hearts, we're opening these doors and these gateways to our own sense of inner knowledge. I call it worshipping at the divine temple of inner wisdom. That's what I do. That's my job. I worship at my own divine temple of inner wisdom. And you get to choose that. And you get to have fun with it whilst unraveling these layers of shadows that you're like, oh my God, how did I never notice that until now? And it all comes as a side effect or a byproduct of choosing to follow your dreams or your passions. And a lot of people say to me, like, I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know where to begin. And I get that. And this is why I'm sharing this with you, because I started with yoga. Like, I never saw myself as being a yoga teacher. It was never my dream, but I knew that I loved teaching and I love exercise and I loved spirituality. So I was just like, oh, I'll give that a try. And it was a great experience. And I just want to get rid of failure culture, get rid of that idea. The only way that we can fail is if we just stop altogether and just go back to who we were like 20 years ago. But maybe there's nothing even wrong with that. Failure is bullshit. Failure is false. We can only try and we can only grow and we can only do and we can change direction and transform, but it's always moving. So failure is false. And a lot of people don't even try because they're too scared of failing. But if I tell you now that failure is false, then you might as well try, right? Yeah, so I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I would say, coming back to the second thing that I spoke about at the start of this video, one of the main themes, facing your fears. So 2 of the number 1 ways that I would recommend you starting the journey of following your passions. Number 1, inner child healing. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. What did you love doing as your child? Why are you not doing it now? What's stopping you? What wounds are there? What did you love doing as a child? Why aren't you doing it now? What stopped you? So for me, that was recognizing like how obsessed I was with writing and painting when I was a child. And, you know, those are still creative outlets that I am weaving into my business. My obsession with fantasy and like, why on earth is my business not all based around fantasy? And that was a huge click as well. Witchcraft. Remembering that as a huge part of my life, magic and my connection to nature. So it's like doing this murder mystery, if you like, not murder, this like mystery quest, that's much nicer way of saying it. A mystery quest, picking up all of these little clues about your life and just choosing ones and experimenting with them. And then number 2, facing fears, because I can guarantee you that whatever you're afraid of and whatever is like triggering you that you don't want to do is your key to unlocking a gateway to freedom. So for me, one of my biggest fears, public speaking, creating these videos, singing, and I have been told all my life that one of my life purposes is using my voice. And surprise, surprise, it's been one of my greatest fears to get over that, and it's still something I'm working through. So I would say like that's your key. What activities or interactions bring you the most fear, and how can you slowly start to gracefully help yourself to face those and see how that feels? Because that when you face a fear and then you actually start thinking like, I'm actually like quite good at this, it's really, really empowering. So yeah, that's all I am going to say about facing fears. And what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, about faith. Starting, like if you struggle perhaps to believe in divine intervention or your guides or guardian angels, like I've always felt the presence of guardian angels in my life, especially in like quite serious dangerous situations in my life, I've always felt like I've been protected by this divine presence. However, starting my own business and continuing to build my own business has taught me, oh my goodness, has taught me the power of surrendering to your divine protection, to whatever that is for you. If you just believe in God, surrendering to God. For me, it is surrendering to the divine feminine wisdom within me, surrendering to my guides, guardian angels, all of the divine, multi-dimensional, metaphysical forces, totally surrendering to that and having faith that no matter what I do, especially if I'm following the path of my heart, that I am always, always, without a shadow of a doubt, going to be safe, held and protected by the divine. And time and time and time again, this has been proven to me in a tangible physical 3D sense in this past 7-year journey of building my business, particularly in the last year where I had that breakdown from my relationship, lost my home, had to move back home temporarily, really felt like I was starting again. It was just a mess, like a crumbling mess in my mid-30s, just being like, who am I? Why don't I have my life sorted? All of that, which is bullshit anyway. But being there and having a year of taking a step back from not receiving as much financial abundance out of choice, because I needed to breathe space into myself and my life and my business in order to expand. By doing that, there were moments where I was like, I don't even think I can pay rent like in a few days' time, or I don't know how I'm going to do this, don't know how this is going to unfold. Every single time, without fail, I was held. The money came, the opportunity came, always in ways unexpected. And I'm lost for words. But for me, it's been the biggest sign that I'm on the right path. And I continue to be on the right path because I'm being taken care of. Because there have been times in my past where I've made mistakes, and I've had to really get myself out of those consequences. But this past year I've really been held. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. So when we choose to follow our hearts, when we choose to do the necessary healing and introspective work, we get held and cradled by the divine, whatever that means for you. And that is, even if you just do it for that experience, I would say it's worth it. I would say it's truly worth it. And it's taught me that, well, it's kind of taught me everything opposite than what I've been taught in the system, to be honest. It's taught me in the power of faith, the importance of energy, and the power of letting go, the power of self-worth and self-belief, and how could I forget this? The importance and the power of resting, luxuriating in resting. And of course, when you're building a business, there has to be some upward momentum. And I did really feel that, like in the first 6 months with the posting and getting into creating content and building. It was like this, okay, I need to keep fueling this energy. And that is a necessity when you're starting a business. But then after a while, when the clients start coming in and when things start building, you can take this beautiful step back and this breather and realize, like, reap the rewards. of all that you've sown into your business. And that's really beautiful as well. And what I, have learned is these times when I'm obsessing over content, like making myself busy, with creating content or doing this or that, it has repelled clients energetically, or followers or subscribers or whatever it may be. But when you sit back in your throne and you're just like, oh, look at this business that I've created, isn't that fabulous? That gives that energy of abundance. So yeah, this has already been an hour. I can't believe that I've been talking for an hour. And I could just so easily continue talking, but I'm going to leave it there. I know it's quite a lot to unpack and digest, but what I will leave it on is where I'm at now in my business, because I know I spoke about having multiple streams of income and the importance of that. So right now, as it stands, I work for myself 100%. So I'm not working for anyone else. So giving myself a pat on the back for that. I have one-to-one yoga clients still, which I love. And then I have Mystic Hearts, which is my mentorships, one-to-one quantum energy expansion sessions, witch activations, live your fantastical life. I also do channeled artwork and paintings. And then I've just given myself plenty of time for creativity. It's constantly building and growing. Right now I'm working on an 8-week group training course, which is dropping in autumn. It's going to drop in September. So yeah, it's building and it's growing and it feels great. I'm stronger, fitter, healthier, more calm and relaxed than I've ever been in my life. And it feels good. And the reason why is that I never gave up, and there are a lot of people in my life that I found didn't believe in me. I was lucky to have people that do believe in me, but a lot that didn't, and I just did not let those voices get me down. No matter if there was days where I questioned myself, just keep going, keep growing, keep learning through the ups and downs. Don't let the outside noise and negativity get you down, because whatever's going on outside is always going to keep on going on. That's not going to stop. But what we can control is what is inside, and what we create inside automatically paints the beautiful picture of our immediate present moment reality. So I hope you enjoyed this today. If there's any takeaways, let me know in the comments. Anything you'd like me to expand on. Sending you so much love.